Welcome to our final training for this Catalyst series. We have done so much together over the past few days, and I am just so proud of everyone who has raised their hand to be part of this experience, the shares that have been going down in the community space. Let me move my mic a little bit more forward. Have been just incredible. And I mean, we're talking about there were generational wounds that were healed in the vocal activation session. There were new discoveries of what marketing could really be like, the necessary shifts that people can start making in their content or in their launches or how they start it has just been such a joy to be part of this journey with you, to facilitate this journey. So thank you so much. And today, to round out our experience, we are going to be talking about some of the fundamentals and I'm going to be sharing with you two diagnostics that are going to help you start looking at what are the different ways that you can create your tailored marketing flow. The coolest part about this experience, honestly, other than the vocal activation, which I'm very passionate about, but the true power of this is that now you get to see how your innate expression can come through strategically in your marketing. How can it actually work for you? How can you come into deeper harmony with your natural creative communicative strengths? Is that even a word, communicative? I don't know, we're going with it. So I'm very excited to dive into this. And I created these diagnostics because as I was working with clients, like I said, like all of my clients have had different marketing plans. Now, one of my clients, yeah, I was just like making sure I was in integrity with saying that. Not one of my clients have had the same strategies, because we don't start with which is kind of like the norm, right? Where somebody says, here's my strategy, and just tailor it to how it works best for you. And while I understand, giving somebody the fundamentals of what you do and saying, here, iterate on that, I think the real power of having support and hiring support is for me to help you find what that iteration is, for me to not just say, oh, figure it out, but me actually saying, let's start with what's going to be most innate to you, what's most authentic to you. Let's get really deep into your brand values, what this really stand for, what's the deeper mission and message, and what's your form of leadership. And now I'm going to side by side with you in creating this strategy and what that can really look like, how it can be most effective. That to me is where the real power lies. And I was just noticing that as I was working with different clients, while the strategies all took, different forms and came to life in different ways based on who they are, their their lifestyle choices, their energy, whether they were a parent or not. Like there's so many things that go into how that marketing strategy takes shape. But there were common themes, there were common archetypes that I was noticing. And then once I became a human design reader, I was like, dude, there's totally connections with their human design as well. I started looking back and studying their charts and making these connections. So these archetypes can stand alone, but I also find that I love integrating with human design, because especially now where so many more people are they're aware of their human design, so many people are open to using that as a tool. There are, in fact, such powerful marketing and communication and just magnetic energy connections between one's human design and their best form of marketing. So with that, with human design though, I'm going to be mentioning certain human design elements. So if you know it, great. I'm going to include like a free website where you can pull your chart. But this, with human design, it's such a dynamic, like you can really go down the rabbit hole with human design. It is so in depth and it covers so many different things. But I wanted a way to be able to teach something so like person by person, like the unique marketing strategies that I usually do one-on-one with clients, in a way where I can start giving you these diagnostics to start looking within yourself and realizing certain strengths and patterns within yourself, and actually giving you certain ideas or launching pads to begin to make shifts in your marketing, whether or not we work together. Obviously, like the things that go down when we do work together is bananas. But I also, I believe that it's also our responsibility as facilitators to be able to challenge ourselves to find ways to teach this, and give that value and give that transformation, regardless of what our journey looks like continuing on together. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in. And the first thing that I want to say is, with these diagnostics, I always like to let you know that, of course, we don't all fit into boxes so neatly, right? Like, I may introduce one archetype and you're like, oh, that's me. And then I may introduce another archetype. You're like, oh, but that also can kind of be me. Of course, right? We're not one-dimensional people. We don't all fit into a parameter super perfectly, and we're not anything else. The intention of this is to start giving you more insight into what most resonates with you, right? What are the leading one or two elements that you really resonate with, and starting to give you those ideas of the shifts and the type of pivots that you can start making to have marketing that is more effective, but also just more fulfilling and more like life-giving to you, versus the type of marketing that is incredibly soul-sucking and therefore not sustainable. So it's okay if you see yourself in more than one category. That is exactly right. We are all multidimensional human beings. This is not meant to put you in more boxes. This is just meant to point you back inward and give you more awareness over the things that are naturally really strong about you, and then give you ideas on how you can partner with it. Deal? Deal. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into these diagnostics. So like I said, these are things that I created, and we're actually going to go into two different ones. So if I can find the right screen here. So with marketing strategy, I like to think about it as it's really a channel for us to express our genius and invoke change, right? Marketing is just that channel where we get to really share the unique value, the unique set of gifts and talents that we're bringing to the marketplace, and share it in a way that inspires somebody to want to make that change, then and there, to show somebody the value of, hey, you have this problem, I have this unique solution, and really inspiring that person to want to create change. So our content, our marketing is really created to want to invoke big change within people. And then obviously, as your reach grows, it invokes bigger change at scale, at a collective level. So when it comes to marketing strategy, I like to think about three different core elements. So I think of sustainability, I think of authenticity, and I think of effectiveness. Of course, right? We want it to feel good. We want it to be in alignment with who we are, but it also got to work, right? We're running businesses. So I want to make sure that you have all of that combined into a nice cocktail that works for you, that works for your clients, that feels really good, but also grows your business, right? And brings revenue in and clients in. So let's go with the first one, sustainability. Sustainability is something that I feel like was left out of the conversation a lot when it comes to marketing strategy. Marketing strategy just became this thing that, it has to be implemented this way, with no real consideration for, is this something that I could actually see myself marketing in this way, 3 months from now, 6 months from now. And like we talked about in yesterday's training, of course, marketing strategy is meant to iterate and change, but the style of marketing and the way we are marketing should kind of feel like we can keep up with it. It should kind of feel like it is not such a heavy burden to market in that way day in and day out. And when we think about sustainability, right, I would much rather somebody stay in the motion of moving forward. Even if you need to pivot, you're still moving forward. What I noticed is that there was a lot of like all in and all out when it came to marketing in certain businesses, where people would go all in, they would market super consistently. That's the word I'm looking for. They would market super consistently for like 2 to 3 months and then be like, I'm done. I need to disappear off the face of the earth. And I was like, why does that happen? Like, why does that happen? Because then it always feels like you're either all in or you're all out of your business. And the real power of growing a business is that you get to have something that you don't always need to run away from. You get to take breaks, you get to have support. But when you create something that you feel like you just cannot see for 2 weeks and you need absolute out of, I question that, because if it's not sustainable, it's not going to be very scalable for you. It's not going to be something that is going to be easy to grow. Authenticity, of course, right? Marketing needs to be authentic. It needs to really speak to the truth of who we are. It needs to be in integrity with what our brand really stands for, and not be just regurgitation of everything else in the marketplace. And that also helps with positioning, right? Helping you stand out amidst the sea of everyone that's kind of saying the same thing, doing the same thing when it comes to marketing. Authenticity, really obvious one. We've been talking about that one a lot throughout this experience. And like I mentioned, effectiveness. It's got to bring in the people. It's got to bring in different opportunities for you to be paid for your gifts, because that is the structure of a business. And we have to consider that, right? So the two main archetypes that we're going to be, two main diagnostics, that's the word, that we're going to be diving into is the client attraction archetypes. The client attraction archetypes are, it's essentially describing what actions are going to be best suited for you in marketing. So is it going to be really leveraging video, or is it going to be really leveraging different mediums of communicating, right? It's more like what actions are going to be in most alignment with you. The innate marketing styles is more about the personality, the essence, the way that your message gets to be communicated. That's going to be most in alignment with your personality. And of course, it has roots in human design. There are certain gates and channels and all of those things that also paint a better picture of what is your innate marketing style meant to really be. How are you meant to communicate most effectively in a way that it would most resonate with your audience? But for the sake of this diagnostic, as I go through the innate marketing styles, you may be able to identify just personality-wise which ones are in most alignment with you. And then so we have what actions to take, the kind of personality and how you can communicate it as you do those actions in your marketing. And then I also like to consider strategic marketing plans, which is something that is a little bit more robust and a little bit more comprehensive. So I like to think about, when it comes to strategic marketing plans and making it most effective, how can we leverage SEO platforms that are search engine driven? So that means that anytime somebody searches those keywords that are built into your content, they're going to find you, they're going to be able to binge your content, and you're consistently nurturing leads without having to stay on that content hamster wheel. I'm very big on that. If it needs you to constantly, pump out new content and new content and new content, we are not really considering sustainability of it. You put out such good stuff, you have such great content, how can we add more longevity to it? I also consider strategic partnerships. We often think a lot about positioning in our messaging, like how do we talk about the unique positioning of our brand in our messaging? That's something we've talked about in the series. But oftentimes we also need to make sure that you are properly positioned in front of the right people who are going to appreciate that message, who have something to gain from that message, who are wanting to, who are going to have the most to desire and the most to get out of your services. So we have to position the brand, but also position you to talk about the brand in the right spaces. So partnerships, being really intentional with that. Where are the right spaces online and offline that you can continue to circulate your message is really big. And then of course, content repurposing in ways that are really fresh, that doesn't just feel like you're recirculating the same post a billion times, but looking at how can we make certain shifts or take content that is most easiest for you to create and then break it up into, different forms of media, different forms of posts that doesn't have that extra burden on you to create new stuff all the time, but it still feels very fresh and like your audience gets to still take in the messaging and get that repetition that builds more trust, that builds familiarity, but in ways that feels really fresh and innovative without adding more work onto your plate to constantly create new things. Okay, so we're going to start with the client attraction archetypes. And I'm going to go through the archetypes, and then right next to it, we're going to jam out on some ways that you can work with it. So if you are going through, and make note as we're going through, keep your journal handy and make note of the archetypes or the innate marketing styles that really like you really jam with, and take note of some of the recommendations that I'm going to offer and see which ones you could see yourself implementing, or see if these ideas ignite something else in you, other ideas for you to make your marketing more effective, but also just more in alignment with who you are. So the first archetype is the vocalizer. My vocalizer people are the ones that like can't be bothered with writing a long text message. You're like, let me just voice memo you. You are the one that's constantly voice memoing people. You're like, let me just pick up the phone and call. You just can't be bothered with sitting there and writing out, your long ideas. Usually my vocalizers are the ones that are like, I love to talk. I love to talk to people. I love to, talk to my friends in school. You were probably getting the comments on your report card of like, this person's great, but like, man, they talk. They're always chatting with their friends. When you get ideas, most likely you are either voice recording your ideas, or you just have to like go out and share it. You need to share with a friend. You need to just post it on a story on Instagram. When you feel that strike of inspiration, your urge is to just share it versus sit down and write it out and get your journal or get your laptop and write out your ideas. So how do you work with it? How do you work with your strength as a vocalizer? And, it seems pretty simple, but when I work with vocalizers, what I notice is that they feel like they have to get boxed into certain platforms because maybe that platform is really driven by a certain type of video or a certain type of content, like with captions and things like that, or even email. And I'm like, you can take those platforms and make it work for you as a vocalizer. So wherever you are showing up in your marketing, how can you integrate more of your voice? Especially my defined throat center peeps. If you look at your human design and the third center down is colored in, you have that throat center defined. So you constantly have energy accessible to speak. So you have a lot of power in that throat center. You could still not have it defined and be a vocalizer, just putting that out there. But the intention here, what I really want to highlight is your voice gets to really support you no matter what platform or what you're, where you're showing up. So even in emails and your sales pages, add a video of you sharing, maybe you talking about the offer on your sales page, maybe talking about the backstory, kind of going into innate marketing styles, we'll get there, but maybe sharing the story of what this offer means to you, or what it has been like, what has created this offer, what inspired this offer, or speaking directly to your client and sharing with them a piece of your heart, or what they need to know, or what you want to share with them as they're considering working with you. In your emails, instead of sitting there writing these long emails, can you just write a little intro and then include the video of you delivering that content? Make the platforms work for you and insert your voice, like use your voice to your advantage. Another part of marketing that you can consider is doing speaking engagements as part of your launch process. So I noticed that sometimes with vocalizers, they get really bogged down with what a launch has to be if they're bringing out a new offer, or they're just wanting to reopen doors to an offer that they have. They think that they have to be bogged down with all of this content creation and all these emails and all of that. And I always remind them, like, if you really want to speak, if your vocalizer is like, I really just want to speak, I want to be in workshops, I want to be in front of people, I just want to be speaking, and that's your gift, then use that as your launch plan. Like, that gets to be part of how you lead gen, and then creating that process, that launch process, to then have a way for them to come in deeper. You nurture them, right, with other content where you're using your voice, and then that ultimately leads to the enrollments. So that's something that I definitely see working very well for my vocalizers. And another idea is when it comes to more of the content creation. So with my vocalizers, when you do feel that inspiration of like, oh, I have this idea of what I want to share, use talk to text there are certain softwares, even for your Zoom meetings, that you can run your Zoom meetings and it creates transcriptions. And you can, maybe with a little bit of editing and reworking, but that's your email right there, or that's your post right there, if you need a written portion. So there's so many ways, and there's so many different technologies that you can use while staying within your zone of genius of using your voice and just being in that form of expression. Next, my collaborators. Okay, for sure, if you have a 4 in your personality profile for human design, collaborator all day long. Even my 6s, a lot of the 4-6 profile, or yeah, there's even with 6s, I'm finding that there's that collaborative nature in you. If you have the community channel that connects the solar plexus to the heart center, I'm not sure. There's a specific community channel that also definitely brings up this collaborator type of archetype. But essentially, as a collaborator, you are someone that really values community. Like, community is a really big value for you. You may find that most of your opportunities in your life have come from your network and connections and community that you've built. Clients have come from referrals or people that you've met. Maybe just doing coffee chats or networking events have really created a lot of momentum for you. You would much rather do something where you share the stage versus just it being you. So you love doing shared lives. You love the idea of being a panelist and kind of sharing the stage with people. Working with a partner, if you are going through a launch or anything like that, like, you love that aspect of community, even in your in your marketing. Anytime you can be in an intimate group setting, you just really feel so much more connected. So those are my collaborators, and how you can work with it. Really noticing that your marketing is going to be heavily centered around your gift of building deep connection with people in a relatively short amount of time. The beautiful thing about being a collaborator is that you can meet someone on a 30-minute call and create such a potent connection with them. That was something that I really grew to know about myself as I started, creating these archetypes, but also doing the human design training. I have a 4 in my personality profile. And I was noticing, as I was looking back, oh yeah, like, doing target market research calls and just being in connection with people, networking, doing coffee chats, I build such a deep connection with people in just a 30-minute call, where we come in as strangers and we leave with such a depth to our relationship. So your marketing doesn't have to be, of course, we all have our sovereignty, but it can be a way for you to share that gift. Because when you can create that level of connection, even at scale, there are so many ways that you can bring this collaborator energy to the forefront. Then people are going to feel so much safer in your space. And again, the emotional connection leads to the financial investment. So looking at integrating intimate group spaces as part of your marketing, maybe a part of your ongoing marketing, instead of focusing on creating 3 posts a week, is doing ongoing masterclasses, just opening up spaces, getting people in, creating that deep group community. And that's your form of marketing. And then your content can just be snippets from that workshop, right? Another thing with collaborators is looking at how you can add in collaboration as part of your sales process. So maybe it's, you can do a podcast tour in advance of one of your launches to start getting the word out, to start lead generating, then bringing those people into some sort of live event where you create that community, create that deeper nurturing, the deeper connection, and then leading people into your offer. You see how that all works? There's so many ways to work with that. And also using your platforms as a way to kind of share the stage, but also using that as a way to tap into different audiences and continuing to bring people into your spaces, into your platform. So the shared IG lives, and I would even say right now with the shared IG lives, they're okay, but what I'm finding is that even that needs a little bit more innovation around it. Because even the other day I was tuning into a shared IG live, and the quality was kind of off. I couldn't really get a firm feel for who the other person was. Yeah, there needs to be a little bit more innovation around doing that. It doesn't make it wrong. It's still great, but basically using your platforms as a way to do different collaborations that also lead to people getting to know you if they're seeing you for the first time in a way that really stays with them. So that could mean collaborating on a post, but then also collaborating with IG Story Takeover, and maybe that leads to some sort of central event, or you are a guest coach in their paid programs. But for you as a collaborator, it really is going to be about not just getting any sort of collaboration, because then you enter into territory where you spend a lot of energy doing these collaborations and not much comes from it, but being really strategic with what are the right spaces for me to show up in, where are my clients right before they need my services or want my services, where are they at right now, who are they following, and then how can I start positioning myself in those spaces online and offline so that I can still be in collaboration, still be in community, and also get in front of the people that are the best fit for my work. And then what are you going to do to create that deeper connection once they come into your space? All right. Next, the wordsmith. So the wordsmith is somebody that has always just been that creative writer. You tended to be that person that's always been journaling. You've always kept a diary ever since you were little, or you loved language arts as a kid. You've always just been very comfortable with writing out, whether it's short stories or like essays in school. You've just always been a really great writer, and you enjoy the act of writing. You enjoy that expression of almost being like really being that creative with using different words to evoke different emotions, and you just find yourself really gravitating towards that. So working with that in your marketing, what that can look like is leveraging your love of writing and also accommodating your marketing to or switching your marketing to accommodate the pacing of writing and what that really looks like for you. So if you enjoy writing, if you enjoy really settling into longer form pieces, then what are the platforms that are going to support that? Is it going to look like a blog post? Is it going to be LinkedIn articles? I've had clients really leverage that because they loved research and they loved writing. So writing longer form pieces. So we leverage that, right? You're leveraging the search engine friendly type of content. And then from there, right, maybe that just becomes doing 2 of those articles a month and publishing that. And then from there, either you or an assistant can use pieces of that and create other posts from that. So you're not doing any additional work. Your message is still circulating in different forms though. So you're getting the long form and the short form, and the value is still getting out there. So yeah, doing the articles, using your outlines. If you're somebody that does outlines of your long pieces, those outlines can be great carousel posts. Those posts on Instagram where you swipe through, it's like 3 things to know about doing XYZ, and you kind of swipe through, using your outlines for that. Or if you want to take snippets of your article and repurpose that for a post, that also works. Or if you love emails, if you really love the idea of creating an email community, you love the idea of email marketing, how can we brand your email list? So it's not just join my newsletter, but it's, join, I don't know. Now I put myself on the spot to think of a name, but like join the Daily Dose, which is your branded weekly newsletter. And you create a whole message around it, and maybe some weeks you have contributors if you're also a little bit of a collaborator, or some weeks it's a video from you sharing an exercise, or really beefing up the idea of a newsletter, making it really high value and having that be something that constantly brings people in. There's so many things. Online spoken words. So if you are a writer and you find yourself journaling a lot, then using your journal entries as almost like the voiceovers for reels or for posts. So there's so many beautiful ways to take the value of your words, the words that you write out, the words that come through, and creating different art forms around it so that the branding is there, the messaging is there, and the value is there while staying in integrity with that form of expression for you. So now we go into the innate marketing styles. So again, the innate marketing styles are more about like, what's the personality? Like, how are you most meant to communicate your message? What is that essence or that brand going to really feel like? So if you are a natural storyteller, if you love telling, creating stories, hearing stories, you're the person that wants to write an autobiography one day, or you love reading autobiographies of people that you admire, of celebrities. You like watching those Netflix documentaries and documenting what that person has gone through. You might notice that the most potent posts or pieces of content that you've put out there that have really landed the most have been personal stories. Then really leveraging the aspect of storytelling. It doesn't always just have to be you sharing your own stories, but also letting, your clients' stories shine through, creating reels or creating different posts that document your client's story. It could also be that when you share about an offer, you're sharing the story of like an avatar, creating an avatar for your ideal client, and your launch process or your messaging takes the shape of okay, what's the story of this avatar? What is she feeling before she enters this program? What happens in the program? What's her life like after the program? There's so many beautiful and I know I keep saying this because it's true. Marketing is such an expansive arena for us to take in all these different elements to you and get really creative with how to grow your online presence. So with storytelling is no different. There's oftentimes when we talk about storytelling, people think I have to always be sharing my story, which, well, yes, that's powerful. There's also other ways that you can integrate storytelling that's not always your own story, but telling the story of the transformation of that offer, telling the story of your client and what they really went through in your time together, all those different things. The informative. Okay, these my number one, if you have a 1 in your personality profile in human design, you're probably most likely 100% an informative. My informatives are the ones that like you have to research everything, and you love getting into the data, and you love getting the statistics, and you're the one that's like fact checking everybody and doing the research on the back end. You kind of feel like you never know enough. You always, if anything, that's kind of your Achilles heel, where you're like, I need to know more, I don't know enough, I need to take this other course, I need to keep learning in this way. So work with that. Like, your love of data is incredibly powerful because the I mean, it's incredibly persuasive, right? When you have the data and you have the research to back up what you are sharing with your audience, and you can show them, right, the statistics and the numbers behind your claims, that's incredibly powerful and persuasive. So for you, your marketing might take on more of that shape of being the person that's the informative. Hey, like, look at this statistic. Hey, here's what's happening. Hey, the number of women-owned businesses are going up, but the percentage of women that get to 6 figures is going down. Here's, like, using those type of numbers is incredibly important. So maybe your graphics are less about, long form captions and all of that, and more about infographics, or letting your content and your emails take on the shape of presenting the latest research, and using the research and the statistics to tie into, the real value of what you're offering, how your solution presents a unique how your offer presents a unique solution to the gaps that the numbers are clearly painting. So that is, I find that is incredibly freeing, to not say liberating, for people, because it makes them not wrong. It gives your natural energy and tendency to want to research things a healthy way to drive your marketing and your brand forward in a really persuasive way. Next we have, or the final two, we have the disruptor and the artist. So the disruptor is somebody that kind of has that little bit of rebel in them. And I'm a disruptor, so I historically would not have said I'm a rebel. I've been the good girl, I've been the rule follower. But the disruptor is more about somebody that sees past the societal norms, and the real drive in you comes alive when you're like, we are bigger than this. Like, this is not what defines us. And your real like fire comes in to share a message and to share almost like this truth of, hey, this is what you've been made to believe, or this is what they tell you, or this is what, these are the boxes we've put into, but we get to transcend that, right? So it's really a message that is all about disrupting what people think is true and painting a new picture, or giving them the tools, the techniques, the awareness, the guidance to transcend that. And it's all about change, right? You're really driving home a message about change, and you're here to disrupt the mainstream conversations of what everyone's saying. And many times what you're saying is kind of controversial. It's like really different and unique. So with this, what I find is that being a disruptor, you're kind of balancing the fine line of being the change, right? Speaking the change, and also not wanting to get into the territory of making people wrong or shaming. I've seen content where I know that person's a natural disruptor because I see it in their, what they're saying, but how they're saying it can kind of come off as abrasive or shaming people, making them feel wrong for believing that, or for being for not taking action in alignment with their desires, and kind of feeling defined by their limiting beliefs or any resistance that gets in the way. We want to tread carefully, because if somebody knows that every time they come across your content or your brand, they're going to feel smaller or feel wrong, they're not going to want to stay in, right? They're not going to want to lean in deeper. So as a disruptor, it's important to the uh, humanize the very things that you're trying to get people past. So sharing the story of, where have you kind of seen yourself in line with those mainstream beliefs or those mainstream constraints? Where have you also felt similar pressures, or where can you now um, be the agent to show the change, right? Not just talk about the change, and not just talk about what's keeping everybody limited and all of that, but how can you actually show how you have transcended that yourself? How can you show how you lead other people through that? How can you show what is possible on the other side of it, and why the mainstream or the status quo is limiting them? So a really powerful piece of content that actually brought some of you here is one where I did a reel about going from wallflower to paid speaker. And it was a really short reel, but it performed incredibly well, because I wasn't just saying like, oh, current marketing gets it all wrong. And like, I wasn't just focusing on the wrong. I placed myself in the journey of my own brand message. And I was like, I was there. I was the person that was always afraid to raise her hand. And in marketing, I followed all of the rules, and I did the content calendars, and I believed that other people knew my message better than me. Like, I was the first perpetrator of my own brand mission. And yet through the solutions and through the tools and things that I offer, I am the testament of it. It transformed me first. And I think that the reason why that did so well is because, I mean, I'm also a natural storyteller. So you see how I wove in the story in that, but also as a disruptor, I'm not just talking about the change, I'm like being about the change. I'm showing how I have gone through that same journey as well. And the artist. Some of you all are so incredibly creative and artistic. And yet, when it comes to marketing, it has become so like you completely tense up. And it's become this arena where your creative genius has kind of fell by the wayside. And you're an artist. Like, the artists know that they're an artist. You were the one that was, you took up some sort of art form when you were growing up. You were painting, or you were in choir, or you're a writer. You're an artist in your heart. you love music, or you gravitated towards the arts as a kid. And regardless of what you did with it, I don't care if were like super professional and like took lessons and did it in school, or it was just something that you kept to yourself. But your artistry is such a gift. And I have seen how people have started to integrate their artistry into how they serve clients. Like art therapy is a whole thing. And it's so healing for them in session and like in their work, but also in marketing. It literally creates this depthful experience when you can integrate your singing or your painting or your poems or any form of artistry into your marketing. It stays with people and it resonates so deeply because that's the power of art. It is an expression that is not just seen but deeply felt by people. Like we all have those songs that just have made us feel things that we have not felt in a long time. We have been in the midst of art that leaves us with this long lasting impression, and that's the power that you have as an artist to bring forth in your marketing. So with artists, I always look at how can we get you more tapped into your creative genius, and with your content, how can we make that more of your art expression? They're not separate. Once we clarify a lot of the messaging elements, and we also clarify the positioning, not just the positioning of the brand message, but the positioning of you, then how you express that can take the form and the shape of your artistic expression. And it actually it goes such a long way with creating that depthful connection and resonance with people that creates a deeper community, and of course allows people to know and to feel deeply connected to making that investment and being in your world. So pause right there. I want to invite all of you, and this is actually your implementation exercise, to look at the archetypes and the innate marketing styles that most resonated with you, and to sit with some of the suggestions that were made here. And maybe, within your body and within your own mind, you come up with different ideas of what that can look like for you. And I want you to write down 1 to 2 shifts that you can start making per category. So with your client attraction archetypes, if you are a collaborator, what are 1 or 2 shifts that you can start making based on how you're marketing now to be more in alignment with your collaborator nature? And the same thing with your innate marketing style. If you are an artist and that feels really true to your innate marketing style, then what are the 1 to 2 shifts that you can start making in your next post, in your next launch, in your next sales process, whatever, in your marketing? What are the 1 to 2 shifts that you can start making to let that be more of the driver? And of course, if you want to jam out on this, it's literally what I'm here for. It's literally what I'm best at. So I'll include, there's an everything page that I'm including at the bottom of the emails. And the first few pages are the different ways currently set up and ready to go to work together at all different price points. The human design marketing strategy session is 10% off until September 8th. So if you know that you need a little bit of more guidance and correction on what the marketing strategy is really meant to be for you, how to get in front of more of your ideal clients, how to start seeing different opportunities for revenue and sales, then that's a great option, especially for the price point and with the 10% coupon for being part of Catalyst, because I love you all so much. And I know this has been an investment of time. So I wanted to be able to give you something just out of pure abundance to make sure that you have everything that you need to keep moving forward and to get your work into the hands of more people. And then there are a couple of other ways that we can partner together privately. But if you feel like there's something specific that you want to jam out together with, that you would love my insight on, then just message me. Just message me. I am here to serve. My main intention is to get your work into the hands of more people, to grow your business, but with marketing that is going to be in full integrity with who you are and what your brand really stands for and what it's really offering in the marketplace. My main intention is to have that seen and communicated so powerfully and so authentically that, of course, the added opportunities for revenue and for reach and for expansion just happen, because that's what happens. That's what happens when marketing is really powerful and effective. So I am here to help you. I am here to serve you. And if you feel like it's that time to partner with somebody that can offer this unique approach to marketing and it's exactly what you've been looking for, then let's do it. Let's do it. I am here to serve you. So you can just email me and let me know what you got going on, or DM me privately. And I'm here. I'm ready to see you pop off too. So let's do it. All right. So we have one more call left in this experience. So we are going to meet to close out this experience as a community live on Tuesday, September 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern. So that's what, 10 a.m. Pacific time. The Zoom link and the details are in the emails that you've been getting. And this is a call for us to, I'm going to lead you through kind of like a closing exercise in the beginning, and then we're going to get into laser coaching. So we might actually flip that order, but regardless, those are the two elements that we're going to dive into together. So you're going to be able to ask me any questions based on everything that we've gone through in this experience, whether it's resistance around getting out there, you're still coming up against some visibility blocks, or you want to ask a more strategic question, you want to ask a messaging question. This is your time to get that last bit of personalized support to keep you moving forward. If you have questions about any of the ways that we can partner together, you can ask in that call, or of course you can email me and message me privately and we can work that out. But I am so excited to round out this experience with that call and to see all of you one more time, or for the first time if you haven't been able to join the vocal activation call. And I'm just so excited for what's going to come next for you and your brand and this next evolution of your business. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for tuning into this training, and I will catch you in our last call.